This is Greasy Greens. I'm the host, Tim Andreae, and I have Liz Woodruff with me today from Idaho's, from the Snake River Alliance, which is Idaho's nuclear watchdog and clean energy advocate. So welcome, Liz.
Thanks, Tim. It's great to be here.
Yeah. And we're here today going to talk about this, the Idaho Line Commission, Leaders in Nuclear Energy. And this is a commission that was created by Butch Otter in February of this year, February of 2012, to investigate the role of nuclear energy in Idaho's future. So they've, over this time, in the last months, they've come up with some recommendations, a big list of about 60 recommendations, which now they're honing down to come up with just a more the essential recommendations to give to the governor about the role of nuclear energy in Idaho's future. And so, of course, the Idaho National Laboratory is going to play into the conversation, and because they are kind of our nuclear
institution.
What are they? Institution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just start talking about let's talk about the Line Commission and how this has gone. What are we looking at?
Well, the Leadership in Nuclear Energy Commission was formed last February to, as you said, figure out how Idaho can be a leader in nuclear energy for the nation and how that can help our state. And of course, we at the Snake River Alliance immediately were concerned because a lot of state resources and time and energy are going to a purported nuclear future that doesn't have a lot of promise, in fact. But we did not anticipate what we ended up seeing in April of last year, which was that one of the members of the commission, who's the director of the Idaho National Lab and is a contractor with Battelle Energy Alliance, his seemingly implicit goal was to modify the ban on commercial radioactive waste that was established in 1995 so that Idaho could open a new nuclear waste dump for stranded commercial reactor fuel, something that Idahoans have said for decades they don't want to do. So immediately the Snake River Alliance was really looking closely at the commission, filing open records requests. We insisted that they develop a website. We insisted that they keep minutes for their meetings. We insisted that they accept public comment at their meetings and online. And we also presented to the commission last June and said Idaho has already said no to this kind of waste. And they have continued to hold their meetings at various places in the state. We've continued to be there. And unfortunately, the subtext has continued to be that Idaho's role in the nation's nuclear future is to be at the back end of the fuel chain and accept the nation's nuclear garbage. So we're really hoping that people will comment on this draft that has been released, a draft that we insisted be released so people could give their input before it goes to the governor at the end of January of 2013. And they have till January 4th to do that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a whole load there. Now let's start like picking that apart. So what you're saying is that our role is like receiving this nuclear energy, like this spent fuel.
It appears as though the role that the commission has identified as their main area of interest is that, yes, we would take radioactive waste and open a dump to be a quote-unquote interim storage facility. There are 104 reactors in the U.S. operating currently. There are 70,000 metric tons of commercial radioactive waste, and that number rises because many reactors are still producing waste. And the other future of nuclear energy, this supposed renaissance that started to be talked about in about 2001, hasn't happened. There is one reactor under construction, an actual new reactor in the U.S., and another one that is just in the licensing process, and that's it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. At the Snake River Alliance, we've always thought that nuclear energy was not a good energy source. A lot of people know we feel that way because of the radioactive waste, but there's a lot of really practical reasons too, and they have to do with the economics. So, whether you support nuclear energy in theory or not, it's hard to deny that both before Fukushima and then sort of in a post-Fukushima world, we saw a huge decline in the economic stability of the nuclear industry. There was a proposal for a uranium enrichment plant in eastern Idaho that got canceled. Many other licenses got delayed. Other projects have been canceled. The cost of uranium has plummeted. And so there is no renaissance. And what we're kind of seeing from this commission is that they're desperately grasping at straws to figure out how the INL will continue to survive and prosper economically. And nobody can deny that the Idaho National Lab is a huge economic engine for the state and for the people of Idaho Falls. But we feel it's really wrong-headed of the commission to sort of blindly move forward to try to figure out how they can continue to get economic benefit from nuclear energy, because where that is leading them is towards these 70,000 metric tons of radioactive waste. And they are, proposing that a key ban on commercial radioactive waste that the people of Idaho voted on in 1996 to support be lifted. And you can see that in the draft recommendations. And so we are calling on people to strongly stand up and speak out and say, no, Idaho will not be the home of a new nuclear waste dump.
Yeah. Wow. Let me ask you this. What would be the benefit? Like, why would they even consider taking on the spent fuel from the reactors? Are they mainly in the east? Is that?
Yeah, the majority of reactors are in the east.
Okay.
And it's been a tradition for the perception that we in the west live in the middle of nowhere is a good place to put this waste. So I mean, more specifically to your question about why, I'll tell you, Tim, I try not to get too deep in the heads of these people, but I think one of the things we can probably surmise when we hear that the commission considers there to be a great economic opportunity associated with this waste is that they may be considering engaging in reprocessing. The only way that bringing in commercial radioactive waste would be an industrial opportunity and create jobs would be through reprocessing. And reprocessing, as some of your listeners might know, is not recycling, even though there's a euphemism that describes it that way. It's a process that separates the plutonium from the uranium and is a must-take step in producing bombs. And it produces highly radioactive liquid waste, of which we still have a great deal at the lab that has not been able to be cleaned up yet. So it would be a terrible idea to return to reprocessing, although that would be the most economically substantial way for this waste to be an asset. And another reason is the lab looking for a purpose, looking for a reason to exist. I've been joking, I don't know if you like existentialism or Albert Camus, but there's that great book, The Stranger, and they say, well, do you want my life to be meaningless? And I really see the lab in an existential crisis where they want to, quote unquote, conduct research on radioactive waste. So they supposedly need all this waste from commercial reactors to come here. But you and I visited the lab this summer together. And you know that they have plenty of radioactive waste already there that nobody is working on. There's these labs inside the lab that are completely empty. And the radioactive waste are in these hot boxes. So we've said, well, why do you need more waste to do research? And, I don't think there's a good answer for that. And, the lab has potential to explore other kinds of technologies and resources. It's always going to be a site where there's radioactive waste. That's always going to be something that needs to be monitored and a concern. But it seems pretty wrong-headed that the governor formed this commission to go down a pathway that's really a dead end.
So